Hello, Norton residents. My name is Kevin O'Neill, and I'm running for Board of Selectmen this year on April 4th at the annual town election. Seems a little trivial now with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and the stock market and the effect that it's having on the community to have this discussion, but I really appreciate your time listening, learning more about me as your candidate. And what I intend to do is to share with you my background, my experience, and the reasons why I feel I deserve your vote for the next Norton Selectman. I've lived in town with my wife for 32 years. We moved here together in 1988, started a family, raised 3 children. They're all in their 20s right now. During those years, we were very involved with the schools and the community, volunteering our time with various activities and such. And we've always been very active in the community. At this point in time, I find myself with a lot of free time on my hands, and I felt that I can do more for the town. And when the position of Norton Selectman became available, when Mary Steele decided not to run, I decided this is a good time to continue my service and volunteering for the town of Norton. So my background, I worked for Federal Express, FedEx, have for 25 years as a project manager in our customer solutions group. I work from home, which provides me the opportunity to be around town often, and which is important, I feel, if you're going to be a selectman, to at least be around the neighborhoods and see what's going on and be able to attend different events and groundbreaking ceremonies and that kind of thing. So that's my work situation. My education, I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering, which revolves around industrial design, planning, operation of facilities, and I think that would provide some good background for my work on the Board of Selectmen, especially as we bring in new industry into the community. I have an MBA, General Studies MBA. I also have a Master of Science degree in Operations and Project Management. And I have several graduate certificates in different specialized areas, for example, quality management, supply chain management. So over the last 20 years, in particular, I've lived in town for 32 years, but I've done a lot of volunteering in the last 20 years mainly. I worked on the school committee for 6 years, as the chairman for 2 years and vice chairman for 2 years. I was the chairman of the high school building committee, which oversaw the renovation and expansion of Norton High School for 4 years. I was also on the athletic complex committee, chairman as well, back in the 2000s. This was when we did the current softball, baseball, lights at the football field, and some other infrastructure improvements around the high school. I was the chairman of that committee. I was also a youth coach for 12 years plus, mainly coaching baseball and basketball for my children and friends and such. And I've also been involved through different committees as an appointed member in the Capital Improvement Committee, as well as the Ad Hoc Budget Planning Committee back years ago. Through those experiences, I've presented to the Finance Committee in many various positions and roles, so I'm very familiar with how the town finances work and have a good working relationship with members of the Finance Committee. Recently, I was on the Town Building Committee, which was working on the Town Hall and Community Center feasibility study. I was on that committee for 2 years. I opted to resign recently because I knew I would be running for selectman. And then currently, right now, I'm on the planning board, and I actually had a split term. This is the end of my first year of a 3-year term. I took a year off. I filled an open position a couple of years back. So I've spent 2 years on the planning board, have 2 more years left in my current election cycle. So you may ask, why am I running for selectman? Well, to be honest with you, I don't know why, but I have a desire to serve the community. I really care about the town and its residents. I've provided, hopefully provide a good leadership in the different projects and roles that I've had over the years, and I'd like to just continue that leadership on the Board of Selectmen. And let's be frank, the town needs volunteers. A town doesn't run properly without the volunteers in the community, whether it be elected or appointed, and I feel that I have the ability, I have the time, and I have the experience to continue to serve. So I felt that this is a good opportunity to join the Board of Selectmen. In my 20 years of volunteering, I've built up a good knowledge of town government. I know how all of the pieces of government work. When I was on the school committee, we would often work with finance committee members and overall budget planning. And I think that the success that I've acquired over the years on various boards and committees will help serve the Board of Selectmen well. And I say Board of Selectmen, but after April 4th, it may be Select Board, so forgive me for utilizing both terms. What I want to do is be able to continue to collaborate with the other groups in town as a member of the Board of Selectmen and provide kind of a historical perspective. With the current Board of Selectmen, there are 2 new very good members, but we've lost a couple of historical members that had a lot of knowledge of the town. And who knows, in a year or 2, we may find ourselves with an even less experienced Board of Selectmen. So with my experience of 20 years volunteering, I feel that I would be a good complement to the current mix of the Board of Selectmen. I always try to exercise good judgment. Through my experiences, I think those influence and aid in good judgment. Many times, you don't know what you don't know, and unless you've experienced things, it's really hard to exercise good judgment without that level of experience. I want to continue to facilitate industrial and commercial growth in town. I am a supporter of the Blue Star Business Park by Condyne Development. I happen to be right now in phase 1, the closest residential abutter, believe it or not, but I live on the other side of the Canoe River, so I'm not directly impacted, but I look out my back window and I see all the construction. I'm woken up every morning to the construction noise and such, but it doesn't bother me because I know that it's really what the town needs, industrial and commercial growth with an increased tax base that comes with it. And so that project is very exciting. I actually went to the groundbreaking ceremony there. I've met with the engineers and the developers, talked to them on and off while I was on the planning board and in between when I was not on the planning board. As a planning board member, we have been working on a master plan update for the town of Norton. The last time one was developed was back in 1998, and 22 years ago. And right now we're in the process of updating that master plan through a lot of community involvement and feedback and multi-phase process. So just last week we had an open house at the library to go over basically a workshop to help us direct what they would like to see change and what they would like to see stay the same within the town of Norton. So I'd like to continue to work on that master plan. I also, through the years, have learned a lot about the town budget, and I think that those skills, understanding the finances and the accounting aspects of the town, would really help the Board of Selectmen. I actually sat down with the town accountant yesterday for a couple hours to learn more about the town budget on the municipal side, and I think that background and that experience will help us put together kind of a long-range budget plan with perhaps forecasting for revenues and costs the best that we can. There are many variables and a lot of unknowns that occur year to year in our budget, but we can try to model that and develop the best long-term plan that is possible. So you'll notice on my signs, they'll be going out this weekend, and on the very bottom I have what I refer to as my values and guiding principles that I feel are important, especially in public service, that I pledge to follow if I'm elected to the Board of Selectmen. Those are respect, responsibility, representation, and results. And you may see those on my signs and wonder what they are, so I thought it would be a good idea to kind of elaborate on those 4 principles and values, if you would, for you, the voters. So respect. I've always tried to show respect to other committees, other boards that I work with or work within. I feel it's very important in town government and life in general to provide mutual respect. Everyone deserves respect, and many times that's understated. Also, employees in the town that work for the town of Norton. As a selectman, it's really important to recognize them and show them the respect that they deserve in their day-to-day jobs, as well as outside vendors and suppliers, and business owners that are applying for businesses within town, developers that want to develop. Showing all of them respect is something that I've really tried to accomplish and strive toward during all the years of my volunteering. But most importantly, I'm elected, or I would be elected, or the selectmen are elected by the residents of town, the voters. And you, more than anyone else, need to feel that you are respected as elected officials, that your thoughts and your opinions and your ideas and comments and concerns take precedent over anything else. So I will always respect the people of the town over anyone else. With the respect comes trust. So when you develop mutual respect, whether it be groups, individuals, that lends itself towards creating an environment of trust. And trust is very important in town government in order for people to believe and understand and have faith in that what you're saying is actually what's happening. Throughout my 20 years of service, I have tried to respect everyone that I interact with. And I think respect is a foundation of any public servant. Responsibility. I'm going to couple responsibility with roles because they kind of go hand in hand. I'm responsible to the people that elect me, to myself that I do the best job that I can, to others that rely on me in different positions, and to the employees of the town, because the employees, deserve to know that their selectmen and board of selectmen and the elected officials not only understand their responsibilities, but also their roles in government. To understand and respect the roles, responsibilities, and the duties of each functioning department, group, along with how they relate and interact with other groups within the town and political groups, including the town manager, I think is really critical, and it's something that the selectmen as leaders should really be on the front end of properly understanding the responsibility and the roles of all of the entities that are under our town government. Selectmen's roles and authority and how it fits into the hierarchy of town government is a really important thing for me to think about, because if we don't follow the proper chain of command as the selectman through the town manager when communicating with town departments, it can lead to concerns and problems within the work environment. As a selectman, the only person that reports to us and that works for us is the town manager. All the employees at the town hall, they don't work for the selectman, they work for the town manager. And understanding that and respecting that chain of authority and chain of communication is really critical. Representation. I strive to represent all of the people in the town. I want to be your voice. As I mentioned earlier, if there's any conflict between a developer and a resident, as an elected official, my job is to represent the resident and to make sure that their concerns and needs are being addressed. I support all of the voters, regardless of your background, demographics. Throughout my life experiences, I've lived through some personal tragedies and such that really have given me the ability to understand and have empathy and see other people's perspectives. So I'm not going to get into my personal life, but with that being said, trust that I will see your point of view whenever you are to bring it to me or the Board of Selectmen in general. Outside of Norton, I want to represent the town of Norton well with our outside constituents and state agencies and representatives. By the way, I have a very good working relationship with our state reps, especially Jay Barrows, who I've worked with on different committees in the past when I was on the school committee. And he was a very big supporter of the high school building project as well, going to the State House and meeting with the state agency, the school building authority, with myself and the superintendent. So I have a good working relationship with Jay Barrows, and I want to carry that relationship and the experience outside of the boundaries of Norton, whenever it, whatever it needs to be that way. And when we're looking for state support on different items, it's important to have a good working relationship with our state reps, which I do. Also, I mentioned maintaining respect. When there's proper representation, respect comes along with that as well. So some examples of how I've displayed representation properly in my different volunteer roles. When I was on the school committee, the group that I was most concerned about were the students. As a representative of the school committee, that was my primary concern with the students. When I'm on the planning board today, my primary concern are the landowners and the abutters, not the developers, because I don't work for, I'm not elected by the developers or businesses that are coming into town. I represent the landowners and the abutters. That being said, I understand that we have to be business friendly, and when businesses come into town, they add to our tax base, which helps all of the residents. But it's a very important function to remember that as an elected board or committee, that you should respond to and react to and represent the actual voters and taxpayers in Norton. When I worked on the capital improvement committee as well as the budget, my primary representation there was the taxpayers themselves. When I was the chairman of the high school building committee as well as the community center and the town hall building committee, my main focus was all on all of the stakeholders in the entire town, which includes the users of the buildings, the employees, the students, and the taxpayers. And then when I was a coach for many years, my primary representation, my primary focus was on the athletes. So that's kind of an example of where I come from. Last but not least, our results. Without all of those attributes and principles and values in action and activities on any board, including the Board of Selectmen, it really doesn't mean much if you don't move forward with the results. So my goal is to strive for continuous improvements in the town, continue to make progress moving forward, maybe improve some processes along the way, to make things a little more streamlined and more effective for both the people and the outside stakeholders in our community. I also want to continue to enhance communication. I think communication is getting much better, but it's important that we continue to stay focused on enhancing communication to the public. So I want to maintain all of my guiding principles like I mentioned. You'll see it on the bottom of my signs: respect, responsibility, and the roles that come with being responsible, and representation. I want to make sure that we're a government that is transparent, that it represents the people and responds to their needs. And I want to, the outcome would be we want to maximize the services provided to all of the members of the community within a balanced budget. So some examples of the results that I've brought to fruition, if you would. I mentioned I was the chairman of the high school building project. That project was on budget and on time with high quality, and here we are 6 years after the ribbon cutting ceremony, and probably I think we're around 10, 11 years after we started it, and everyone is fully satisfied. It was a very success story. And by the way, we got more than 60% of the project paid for by the state. When I was a member of the high school athletic complex committee, I was actually chairman. I worked on the softball and baseball fields. We did that through complete donations, volunteering, fundraising. All of the two fields that you see there, as well as the lights, irrigation, the fencing that goes around the parking lot, and the brick park that I had built on my own hands and knees for many weekends during 2 summers, which was relocated when the high school project was completed, but that was a fundraiser, the engraved bricks. All of that work was done with no taxpayer dollars. And all those fields were built free of any taxpayer spending. So I'm pretty proud of those results. Everyone that I work with, I hope, in different committees and boards and such over the years, I hope that they were satisfied with the volunteer work that I've done, and I hope that that they respect the work that I had done. I've had to negotiate contracts for the school department as well as other use of field agreements and such, and those outcomes have all been satisfactory and good for the town as well, and the employees, mutually satisfactory. I was on the school committee back in the early 2000s when the enrollment was at a peak. The cost per student was probably among the lowest in the state. Health insurance was doubling, double percentage increases. Special ed costs were going up. We had a very slim skeleton crew in the central office, and we got through those times with most people feeling that the school department was doing a great job. I believe the public opinion back then of the school department, as it is right now, but with the limited resources we have, was very high. And I'm proud of that, because as a member of the school committee and a chairman for a couple of years, there was a lot of work that was put into that and maintaining what we could with the money that we had. And then, of course, I mentioned the Blue Star Business Park. That's a result of collaboration and work and such, as well as making sure that the abutters were protected against an impact on the quality of life. So I think everybody is satisfied with that park so far. And then one other thing, as far as results, I want to be able to provide some stability and consistency along with my past leadership and experience working in the town of Norton. I think I'll be a valuable member to the current Board of Selectmen and complement some of the skills and aptitude and history that they have currently. So my goal is to continue to serve the town of Norton and volunteer like I always have through serving the town with humility. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this and appreciate your time, and hope that you come out on April 4th to elect me as your next Norton Selectman. Again, my name is Kevin O'Neill, and thanks for your time.